no kidding. I mean, honestly, volunteers are pretty awesome people, and like people who are into community service. When you get out on the trail and you're working with them as a crew, it's so much fun. Like we had 8 people. We're trading off, working in different groups, and there's always just a good conversation. And the focus is on doing good things for the forest. And I don't know, it's to me a lot of fun, and having like an inclusive and sharing that type of experience with people in the woods is kind of for me what it's all about. And you also get some good work done too, and helping out the trails. And I think just spending a day in the woods is kind of a blessing in a ways. And if you can do it in a way that actually makes the trails better and creates a community spirit, I think that's just all bonus.
Correct. Like you said, getting out there, and Charlie added this as well, is just seeing the places that need improvement. Like I've always thought back when I first started hiking, that
the bushwhacks were some of the worst days I've ever had in the mountains, or life, really.
And I tell people all the time, never underestimate the Catskills. You can't underestimate them.
Why the Catskills is such a great place for trout.
It is really the development of New York State. Catskills were responsible.
Now you're listening to Inside the Line, the Catskills.
So, guys, it's been a crazy week. I'm down here actually in South Carolina.
Oh wow, you traveling, huh? What are you doing down there?
Staying at the beach and enjoying lowland life and just chilling like I haven't in 4 years. So,
Sea level slacker.
Exactly. It was when we arrived here, it was a high of 59 and raining. So it was pretty scary. And then all of a sudden today it was 83 and sunny. So we're good.
Cool. Is the water warm enough to get in?
Yes, definitely. It says online that it's 77 degrees. So
wow.
It doesn't feel like that, of course, when you first enter.
Yeah. Well, summer's there for sure if that's warm.
Definitely. It feels so good. But so the other day, Friday, was the opening day of the Trailhead Stewards. Matt, I know you've been a Trailhead Steward. Charles, you're a volunteer anyway, so you might have some crazy stories. When I was a Trailhead Steward at Slide one time, it was really crazy. This guy came in. It was really crappy weather, and we said hi to him. How you doing? And he just said, hey, and then darted up the mountain. So we were like, okay. I'm like, he doesn't want to be bothered. He comes down. And when he opened the back of his trunk, it was beeping, like it was beep, beep, beep. And I'm like, I only hear that and it like on like military vehicles or, like high end maintenance vehicles with like high end security. And it was a big Denali and stuff like that. So he was all cool. He comes over and sits down and chats with us. We come to find out he was a Border Patrol specialist, and he just comes over and starts giving us stories about Border Patrol. He brings over a shoe, 2 shoes that the guys wear. They're basically mops, so you don't see their footprints in the thing. He's like, "What are these used for?" I'm like, "Oh, I use this on my Florida mop. It's mop." He's like, "No, this is for people who go over the border and they don't want their tracks in the sand." I'm like, "Really?" And it was definitely a different kind of thing. He was up there and down there probably in like an hour and a half. It was crazy.
Was he seeking out illegal immigrants on top of Slide Mountain? Was that his purpose for being there?
I don't know, but he was quiet when he first came in. He just kind of like waved his hand, and he was up there. But he was down. He sat down. He pulled up his own chair and started chatting with us, and he just kept chatting about like illegal immigrants over there and the Border Patrol, and it was very crazy stories.
That's kind of interesting.
That must have made the time go quickly.
Yeah, he was a cool dude, and we were like, what are you doing up in the Catskills? You're pretty far away from your normal thing. And he's like, I had a friend up here who wanted to hike, but he never showed up. And he's just like, I just started doing my thing and went around the Catskills, and I was just like, good to see it. And he had kind of like a Russian accent to him. So I'm just like,
Mm.
at first I was like, this guy's a spy. He's doing military training. But
Yeah, which border is he patrolling? Is he
yeah,
patrolling the border of Russia and Alaska? And he just got off.
yeah, the border of
Ulster
Ulster County,
County.
I guess, from the city people.
So that idea about wearing those mops on your feet that don't leave any footprints sounds like a pretty good leave no trace idea. Maybe he was ahead of his time. He had some ideas like on the herd pass. If you just wore mops on your feet, maybe you wouldn't leave any trace when you're going there. I don't know. If only it were that easy.
And then you wouldn't have any grip on the high spots, and then everybody would get injured.
Well, I guess you got to make a sacrifice for nature. Leave the grip behind. If you can't handle it, then stay home. That's the thing. And no joke, I think honestly that's the reason why the herd paths have advanced as quickly as they have. At least that's one of the theories I've heard, and that I tend to agree with. That it's the traction devices and all of these cool things that allow us to be out in the woods in every possible condition. So we're there in March and April and November when the soil doesn't have any overgrowth on it and it's just bare, and these traction devices are tearing it up and creating even more erosion than just regular boots would. And just all of those things combined certainly have a combined effect that has reached a tipping point. And I think we're at that point where the trails are there, and now it's great that the DEC has focused on doing something about it. They've got a formal project in place. They're writing it into the unit management plans. They're reaching out and making connections with the community to try to get support for what they're doing. I think everybody wants it to go faster, but everybody also knows that you're dealing with Albany bureaucracy, and things are going to move at the pace of budgets and other things that we're not privy to, but ultimately we have to deal with.
Yeah.
Well, my understanding, and first of all, I don't speak for the New York, New Jersey Trail Conference. Anything I say is my own opinion and understanding of the situation. But my understanding is that the DEC is contracting with a outside outfit that will do a visitor use management plan for the informal trails. And that's going to be coming somewhere down the road, and we're just waiting to see what that actually will be.
That's very cool. That's very good to hear about that, because we all know the craziness that has gotten here in the Catskills and everywhere around the United States, especially. And now the Catskills, a lot of these informal trails, aka herd paths, has been the easiest way to the top, and it doesn't follow the good guidelines of switchbacks maybe, or finding spots where the erosion won't go fast as it should, and that's the problem. We got Hawkett is just straight up right up there, and the erosion on there is horrible. The trail's horrible, everybody hates it. Rusk same way. And that's good visitor units management that's happening down in Catskill Clove. I'm very, very curious to see what they come up with. This would be fantastic.
Right, that's how I feel.
Yeah, I mean, you were describing the herd paths, and I kind of thought that you were just describing regular Catskill trails, because they all pretty much just go straight up and are often eroded. I think there's been improvements made all the time, but that's kind of like a northeastern thing. Like I think you see it in Vermont and in Massachusetts, even just the trails just go straight up. I mean, no monkeying around, just go for the summit. And it's a scramble. It's fun, and you're exerting yourself, and so I think there's something to be said for those types of trails if you can harden them and keep them from turning into a complete mud pit or just an eroded pile of roots. But people like those steep, challenging trails, and the switchbacks are really good, but I don't think that's really necessarily what people are always looking for in a hiking experience. So there's got to be a balance, and I think the Devil's Path and the Slide Mountain area, it has some good ledges. Even Blackhead, Black Dome have some, a little bit of scrambling there. But I don't know. I'd say more of that would be kind of cool. And I wonder, Catskill High Peak is one of the peaks. Charlie and I did a hike, kind of a scouting hike there, I don't know, a year or two ago with Andy Garrison, and we're looking for ways that you could possibly reroute the long path, maybe over Catskill High Peak.
Yeah,
and that chute that goes up the eastern side of Catskill High Peak is a really great trail. I mean, and It's in a wild forest. You could probably put like a ladder or some kind of aid there to make it, Not quite so dangerous, but still kind of a steep, wild experience. And I don't know, that would be a really cool way for the long path to kind of cap off, one of the high peaks in the Catskills.
Yeah, it's definitely weird that it just goes right below it because it doesn't have any trail going up it, so they can't really put a trail on there just yet. I mean, I think it would be great to bring that from the southern side. That would be fun. That'd be nasty in the winter.
Yeah. Both of them, yeah, going up a hurricane ledge and then down the other side. Absolutely.
It's a nasty place in the winter.
Yeah, I would like to see some sort of comprehensive solution because the long path on Catskill High Peak goes through Pine Plains with a like 2 mile long, extremely muddy segment that sometimes you could almost dive in and swim it. It's ridiculous.
Horrible spot.
And
Yeah.
so any way that we could avoid that and maybe also access the summit and have one route that people use so that they're not creating, problems with reducing habitat for species and creating problems with erosion. That's what I'm interested in seeing. And again, that's just my opinion, but hopefully they'll come up with something like that.
But these opinions are the ones that are needed as the people that are well acquainted with the Catskills and know the Catskills inside and out like you guys do. And your volunteers in the Catskills that are enhancing old trails into the kind of ways that it should be, that way it should have been, really, instead of just like you said, going straight up to the summit and sometimes, or just going straight through this mud pit that's over in Mary's Glen, like you guys have been working on exclusively for the past 3 weeks, I'm guessing, right? It's been 3 weeks, right?
We worked there in April. So we had done a project there last year by the Campground Road trailhead and did about 100 feet. It was before that. It was a pond with ducks swimming in it and frogs hopping about, and it was terrible. So we put a little drainage in and put in stepping stones and crushed rock in, and so we went back again this year in April and extended that and put in some more stepping stones. So that looks really good right now. We wanted to continue out towards the junction with the escarpment, which is also a very wet area, but the DC didn't think we should do that. And I think that Tahawa's Trail Builders will actually be working there.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to see what they do. And the last month, we just completed a project actually, again, on the long path that's south from Lane Street. We worked there last year, about a mile out. There was a wet spot that had, kind of flat, but very poor drainage. So we enhanced the drainage there and put in stepping stones and crush. And it looks I was just there today, like I was telling you before, and it looks great. And so we went back there again in May and went up a little bit farther where there was another muddy spot and did the same thing there. And it's holding really well. Looks really nice.
Awesome. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight, Catskills Trail Crew, with you guys, because you guys have been doing some amazing improvements in the Catskills that have been needed for a very long time. And we'll definitely talk about some of those areas that you have been at. But yeah, that's a good discussion about this is going to have to go into a different episode because those the informal trails or the herd paths are definitely something to think about now because, like Matt and I talked about this once before, is just the amount of herd paths that are showing up. It's just really, really odd that you're, one way and then you see all of a sudden 2 or 3 going do like a Y or a W and you're just like, okay, so where do I follow? And then you follow one way and it's the wrong way. And all of a sudden now you've created another path. So big problem, but
yeah, and that's the habitat destruction right there, because like in between those 2 little trails, a lot of animals just aren't going to go. Like, Bicknell's thrush is not going to nest right in between those 2 trails when people are walking on both of them. It's just going to disturb it. And that's why you really got to get that one corridor. And, you're never going to stop people from doing a little bit of bushwhacking. But once you establish a formal trail on these mountains, that's just where people are going to go. Slide Mountain, occasionally people bushwhack to Slide Mountain, but like 99% of the people take one of the trails to get there. And that'll be the same with Catskill High Peak and all the rest of them once they get that trail established.
Right. Yeah. And like Catskill High Peak has those 2 access points, usually is from the east and from the south. And that's really it, unless you're a really dedicated person, like probably all of us, want to go dissect that, go right up there, or see some other play from Round Top or from the base of from the middle section of Round Top and Catskill High Peak. I mean, that's a fun, the old Indian camp and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
So it's definitely a big discussion, and hopefully, like you said, the visitor use management will come out. Like, I'm looking forward to the Catskill Clove one, and I'm hoping to get them on here. I actually have been in contact with them, so I got to make some questions up for them just to see their whole idea of what's going to happen. I'm very, very curious of what they're thinking about this, because this is a tough section. I don't know, Matt, have you seen their plans and stuff, their maps of where they have to do this?
I did see a draft of this a little while ago. Yeah.
It's really tight. Like, I mean, they didn't include North South Lake, which is astonishing.
Well, yeah, but that's a state campground, so I think that's a different part of the DEC that manages that land.
Correct. So, like, their area, the map that I saw was really tight. So any means for parking, transportation, stuff like that is going to be really, really difficult. It's going to be interesting to see what they come up with.
Well, yeah, I mean, at a certain point, shuttles have been put out there as an option, and finding a way to fund them and make them accessible is, I think, possible, right? I mean, we're a pretty wealthy state. We got some tax dollars flowing in all sorts of directions, and I don't see why we couldn't have some kind of a shuttle that ran up and down there as a service to the hiking community. Might find some corporate sponsors to put their logo on the side of it and, drive up and down, let everybody see how awesome they are for supporting the Catskills. So hopefully something like that can happen.
Sounds like an opportunity for me.
That's right. Put your logo on the side of that thing. Exactly. Inside the line shuttle. There it is, right there.
Hell yeah. Right there. Awesome. So welcome to episode 78 of Inside the Line, the Catskill Mountains podcast, right? 78, right, Matt?
Congratulations. That's awesome.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Matt was on episode 52 with me. I can remember that episode because it was a great chat about, first of all, the Catskill Trails crew at first, but then we also had a great discussion about the herd paths. And like we just did before with you and Charles. So yeah, episode 78 tonight, we welcome Charles and Matt from the Catskill Trail Crew. They're going to talk about their awesome volunteering efforts that they've had in the Catskills, enhancing the trails of the Catskills that has been needed for such a long time. And we'll get deep into that later in the show. So welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you. Again, call me Charlie. Otherwise, I'll call you Stanley.
Hey, I've been called it's Stash most of the time, and I'm just like, whatever. I can't deny that. But yeah, also welcome, Matt. Good to see you back.
Yeah, thanks for having me again. I'm glad to be here. And you got my name right. You left out the other half. Matthew is way too formal for me as well.
Yes, definitely. Way too formal. So Charlie, thanks for joining.
Thank you.
Excellent. So thank you to the monthly subscribers, Darren White, Vicky Ferreira, John Comiskey, Alec Betancourt, Sarah Bacon, Jim C., Michael Bongner, David Mead, and Matt Smith. Thank you guys for supporting the show. Thank you, Matt, by the way.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Big thank you to Outdoor Chronicles Photography for being the sponsor of the show. Molly from Outdoor Chronicles Photography specializes in adventure elopement and adventure couple photography in the Catskills, Adirondacks, and White Mountains. Also, don't forget your pets. They're just as important. Matt can affiliate for that. She's also,
I want to elope with my dog and have a picture taken of it. So it'd be awesome. They can combine all of her skills.
She does stuff in the Catskills, and it's phenomenal. She showed me, I posted one of the times her pictures on North South Lake on Artist Rocks and Sunset Rock and North Point. Stunning. So get them done, Matt. Trust me.
That's great. That's a beautiful place too. I can't imagine one of those photos you're just going to remember for the rest of your life when you have it taken in one of those stunning locations like that.
What's your dog's name again? Mia?
Mia. Yep.
Yeah, I remember. So don't hesitate to get a hold of Molly on all platforms. Also, if you've ever wanted to learn more about hiking or backpacking, check up on Trailbound Project. They are a hiking backpacking school in New Jersey. Scott and Joe has amazing skills from the New Jersey Search and Rescue Team. Top-notch stuff. I've never worked with somebody as much talented and professional as them, because Joe and Scott are amazing. They do some crazy stuff throughout the years. So they know what they're doing. Check them out for any new skills you want to learn or any old skills you want to brush up on. So Trailbound Project, check them out. Awesome stuff.
That's pretty awesome. I was a Boy Scout growing up, and so I learned how to do all that kind of stuff when I was a kid. And I kind of just took it for granted as I started doing it when I was older, like how all that worked. I just kind of understood it because I learned about it. But you figured people didn't do that when they were a kid. They got to get somebody to teach them the basics and show them how it works. And you can watch a YouTube video and you can learn a little bit from that. But actually going out and hiking with somebody, showing them how to pack and like explaining the stuff one on one, it's pretty cool. So it's I didn't realize that people were doing that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, those guys are awesome. They do a lot of teaching on bushwhacking and of course like self survival skills out in the wilderness if you get caught in a sticky situation, because they are both professionals in that selection of category. I've worked with Joe and Scott when we've done some mock searches in New Jersey, and I couldn't say like Joe is just phenomenal guy. He knows in and out everything. He's also of the mountain rescue unit of the Northeast, so he knows knots and stuff like that. Rappelling, he's taught us one time, taught our SAR group some stuff. We did rappelling with him. Scott knows in and outs of everything medical and bushwhacking and stuff like that. So like you said, it's hands-on with a bunch of other people is also very, very fun too. You get to learn, you get to teach each other, and you get to interact with other people too. Cool stuff. So you guys having anything to drink tonight? Any alcoholic beverages?
I'm not drinking anything alcoholic. I'm drinking a probiotic lemonade.
Wow.
Which is pretty good. Yeah. I don't know if you can see
Kavita.
that.
Nice.
Yeah.
I was drinking cider from Adams. Does that count?
That does definitely count.
No alcohol in that.
That definitely counts. Whatever you have is drinking anything. I had some rum and some punch, some mango punch and stuff like that. We call it the rum punch, and it's for our time down here in South Carolina when we're on the beach. So decided to have some of that.
Nice.
Also, yeah. Also, thank you, Diane Weiss, for the 5. Oh, excuse me. Thank you, Diane, for the 5 coffees you donated the other day. Can't wait to hike with you. Looking forward to it. And thank you also for your volunteering and stuff. Also, thank you, Colleen and Lords, for donating to the Longest Day Alzheimer's Association fundraiser that I'm doing for this year. On the 21st, I'll be hiking. I believe it's going to be Overlook Mountain for sunset and hiking for Alzheimer's Association on the Longest Day. So I have a bunch of people signed up. So hopefully we'll get something going for that. So guys, you've been on any previous hikes in the past couple of weeks you want to chat about? Charlie?
Well, let's see. Yesterday, my friend and I hiked from, and most of the hikes I do lately are because I'm the Long Path Catskills trail chair, so I've got to cover most of the eastern half of the Catskills and see what's going on. So yesterday, a friend of mine and I hiked from Peakamoose Road up to the Verneuil Kill parking area. So that was a lot of fun. Actually, you don't have fantastic views in that area, but the Verneuil Kill Falls is pretty amazing. There's like great swimming holes there. But I do enjoy that section, and it's in a little overgrown at the moment, but in pretty good shape. That was a lot of fun.
Nice. That's how I've never known that's how you say it. How do you say it again?
Verneuil, that's how I say
Verneuil.
it. I could be wrong.
No. I always from the looks of it, it looks like Verneuil. So, damn. Wow. Upstate New Yorker doesn't know his own upstate area. Thanks.
Yeah, your Dutch accent is completely unconvincing, Stash.
I got to read up more. And get some stuff. I'm learning some stuff here and there. So, damn, Verneuil. Wow. Verneuil. Right?
Yeah. I think the interesting thing about that is that trail, the long path is going to go from somewhere near Lundy Road. This is the new project that everyone's been talking about. It's been a little delayed, but the Tahawas Trail Builders will be building a connection from Lundy Road up to the falls, I think. That's where it's going. So that will take all of the long path off the road from that segment. So that will be really cool.
That'll be fantastic. There's there's a lot of roadwalks for the long path, and I heard you guys are doing great work of getting that out of the way and getting it to a real path. So awesome! Thank you for your volunteer work. We really appreciate it. So Matt, how about you, sir?
Mainly been doing hikes close to home, and did a hike up to the Beebe Hill Fire Tower yesterday, which
Ooh,
is
nice.
fire tower in my neighborhood, like only about 10 miles from my house. One of the few fire towers not in the Catskills, so it's over in the Taconic Mountains, and it's got a couple of lean-tos nearby as well, which is kind of cool. So you can actually go out and do some tramping around on the trails, camp out, check out the fire tower. Got views of the Catskills, views of the Berkshires and that area. So yeah, really nice out there.
Matt, I think Matt was up in Maine recently, right?
Oh,
Oh yeah, I did go up to Maine for the winter hikes. Yeah, I did a bunch of winter hikes up in Maine. Bagged pretty much all of the high peaks in a couple of days up there. So I did, Sugarloaf and all the peaks around the Carabasset Valley,
oh,
which was pretty
nice.
amazing.
Are
Yeah.
you? Aren't you a 115er now?
I'm working on it slowly. I'm
Working.
gonna be a 67er pretty soon. I've got three more
Nice.
peaks in Maine to do, and that'll cap off my Northeast 67. I've been avoiding the Adirondacks like the plague. I'm gonna have to get my 46 in order to get my 115, but that's pretty much the only reason why I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it in winter to avoid the crowds as much as I can. But it just seems to be one of those things where beautiful mountains, really challenging terrain, but you're not going to get like kind of wilderness solitude unless you go in the off season. So we'll see how it is. Bang it off in one winter, maybe just line them up, knock them down, just do a bunch of big trips up there and get them over with.
Nice.
And then I'll
Well,
probably fall in love with the Adirondacks, and then I'll just be my favorite thing in the world once I do it.
yeah. Let me know because I'm looking to knock off a couple more. I only have two on my list in the Adirondacks, so I'm looking to go up and knock some more off the list up there.
Sounds good. Let's make it a plan and do the Great Range and some of the other big ones and just big marathon hikes and just get them all done.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. I look forward to it. And this coming week, next week, I'm going up to the New Hampshire to do the Pemigosset loop. So
Oh, wow. That's a really tough one. How long are you going to take to do that?
3 days, 2 nights.
Are you staying in the huts along the way?
Correct. The Giot one and then the Greenleaf, I believe it is the second night.
Yep, Gio. I think Gio is the name of that one,
Yeah.
which is I think he was one of the surveyors who surveyed the East Coast. And what was the other one? The Greenleaf Hut?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's off the loop that goes down. I think it's like a half a mile off the loop. So that's another mile into the
Right.
30 miles, 10,000 feet of elevation gain.
Which way are you going to do it? Are you going to do it clockwise or counterclockwise?
Counter. We're going to go up to Bond Cliffs and stuff like that, and then finish on Lafayette.
Okay, wow. That's unusual. Most people do it in the other direction. But I think that's a good way to do it because that final walk out along the old rail trail when you're coming out from Bondcliff, it's like 5 miles of like flat walking.
I've
And
heard.
honestly, it's brutal to ice your legs. You're better off just getting all your elevation done and just being right back at the car as quickly as you can. I've done that hike a couple of times, and that last slow walk of shame as your legs are dead and you're still got to make it out of the car. And it's just one step after another, every step the same exact as the last one. It's really kind of exhausting.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm really looking forward to it. Get above tree line is what I want to do.
Are you doing it solo?
No, I'm actually doing it with a bunch of first responders. So a
Wow.
bunch of military vets, and I think one or two SAR first responders up in New Hampshire. So
Cool. So you got a pretty hardcore crew going up there.
definitely, I bought more gear, better gear than what I had before, and I think I'm somewhat ready. I think I'm going to overpack, of course, like always. But
Don't do it, man. Those 10 miles a day on that kind of terrain, if you're carrying a heavy pack, it'll absolutely brutalize you. And if you're staying in the huts, man, but you got everything pretty much there for you, right? You don't have to carry a lot of food.
mhm,
You don't have to carry any bedding, no tent. So it's really just, change of clothes. And if you're willing to put up with your own stink, just bring some deodorant, you can wear the same clothes the whole time.
correct. I mean, the one guy that's helping us out with this from West Mountain Guide Company, my friend Henry is preparing us for kind of the worst and stuff like that. So, you know, you can never know what's going to happen up there above tree line, of course. So hopefully it won't be too bad.
It's true, but if you have a big crew, you can spread that survival gear out amongst everybody and not have to, overpack. You know, that's fun, man. I envy your ability to just get up there and do that. I don't know if my legs can handle that anymore.
That is the question. Is what I'm going to have. So we'll see. So also volunteer. Once again, I always encourage volunteering. We have Catskill Trail Crew here, 3,500 Trailhead Stewards, the Catskill Mountain Club, the Catskill Visitors Center. Anywhere you can volunteer is a great help to the Catskills and to your local community. Whatever, just volunteer. Let me know. I'll run your name on here, and we'll get your name plastered onto my page because I support volunteering all over the place. So, how about we make it into a little Catskill Mountain history, guys?
Sounds good. I'm all ears.
All right. So I've been reading the Catskill Mountain House by Ronald Van Zett, which was written back in 1943. So this is some pretty cool stuff. I read this the other day, and this was a big change in the Catskills. It was because of the population. So one index of dramatic change in the Catskills is remarkable growth and distribution of the American population during the 1826-1876 period, which was the 50th and 100th anniversary of the American independence. The land of area in the United States more than doubled in total population, then tripled. In 1830, it took 2 weeks to go from New York City to the frontier of the Mississippi. 2 weeks to go to New York to Mississippi. Now in 1870, it only required 4 or 5 days. Only 3 states could claim populations of more than 1 million in 1830. By 1870, 15 states could make that claim. And in 1830, 3 of the largest cities were New York with 202,000, Philadelphia with 161, and Baltimore with 80,000. By 1860, New York maintains its lead with more than 1 million. Philadelphia was second with more than 500,000, and Baltimore had 212,000. So mostly every state doubled, New York quadrupled. At first glance, such statistics seem to suggest that the Catskill Mountains had lost their strategic relationship with the rest of the nation. At a second glance, however, soon corrects that impression. The great expansion of American territory westward, for instance, was not as important as it seemed to be because it was accompanied by a startling development and a new and more rapid means of transportation. Thanks to the ingenious railroad, it took no more time to reach Pacific Coast in 1870 than it had to reach in the Mississippi in 1830. But of greater even significance was the way that distribution of population continued to favor the northeastern section part of America. In 1830, Pine Orchard, which is where the Catskill Mountain House is right now, Pine Orchard used to be the town of where the Catskill Mountain House, basically in the North-South Lake area, was about 340 miles as the crow flies from the statistical center of American population. In 1870, in spite of opening the vast new territories and a tripling of the total population, Pine Orchard was still only about 536 miles from the center of population. American population, in other words, continued to be geologically favorable to the development of the Catskills as the most accessible and therefore most popular resort in all of the United States. The second half of the 19th century, to be sure, saw the advent of other centers of recreation and fashionable resort areas like parts of the Adirondack, Berkshires, and the White Mountains began to develop at this time. People began to frequent such seaside resorts as Long Beach, New Jersey, Newport and Rhode Island, and Connecticut at that time too. And an ominous note for the future fate of the Catskills was struck in 1889 when the first Flagler Hotel was built in St. Augustine, Florida. In spite of all these developments, however, the supremacy of the Catskills as the nation's oldest and most popular vacation land was never effectively challenged until after the advent of the 20th century. Now, between the 50th and 100th anniversaries, the Catskill Mountain has passed from pioneers' days of the Romantic era to what one commentator has called the gayest and grandest epoch of summer resort history in the Catskills, where hundreds had previously taken a slow paddle wheelers up the Hudson to the Catskill Landing and transferred to the lumbering coaches of Charles L. Beach for the 3 to 4 hour drive to Pine Orchard. Thousands now boarded parlor cars in Philadelphia, New York, and found themselves in less than half the time in the booming resorts of Greene, Ulster, and Delaware counties. As the cities of the East continue to proliferate in size and numbers, the idea of a summer vacation took hold more and more segments of the American population, passing from what was called as a mere social fad for fashion and gratification of the wrist to what was recognized as a habit, had become a chronic and conformed among all classes. By 1904, the Catskills reached their highest pitch of development and fame. In 1870, it was estimated that not over 2,000 persons went to the mountains, 19,000 during the 1980s, and the figure had risen to 60 or 70,000 visitors annually by 1907. And it had attained the marvelous proportions of about 300,000 annually by a little after 1907. From a scenic wilderness, rough and remote, limited geography to the eastern escarpment of the mountains in the vicinity of pine orchards, dominated by the saltarity, splendor of the Catskill Mountain House, the Catskills have become the end of a century, teeming with thousands of square miles of vacation land, of hotels, boarding houses, and rich summer homes, the refuge of affluent message of the killing age and the playing ground of the nation. And that's about it. Oops, sorry about that. I didn't figure it ended right there, but heck yeah. So basically between that era of the 50th and 100th anniversaries, we saw a decline, but also a steady pace in the Catskills because of the railroads.
It's interesting, but when I read about the Catskills from that perspective, it strikes me that that's an outsider's perspective of the Catskills, that it's a place to go on vacation, to get away from something else, right? And I think, as somebody who grew up in the Catskills, that's not, I don't know. I don't know if I wouldn't call that the real Catskills, at least as I experience them. Catskills are where people live and where they have their homes and where they raise their families and where they build and where they, engage in their communities and build their communities. This idea that there's just some place for people to roll in and stay in a hotel is, I think, a really superficial perspective of the Catskills, and it's one that I think dominates. Because it is a place where people go. And I don't want to diminish that aspect of it, but when people come to visit, they do have to remember that they're in somebody else's home, and that the Catskill Park is not like a national park where you just go and it's rangers and bison and camping spots. It's like you're right next to somebody's house. And, the decisions that are made in terms of managing the land in the Catskills really impact people's livelihoods, like what they can do with their land, whether or not they can build something because, the watershed might be damaged by the construction. So it's very difficult for people who live in the Catskills to actually, use their land as they see fit because of all the restrictions placed on them for conservation needs. And the tax, burden is certainly no less within the park than it is in other parts of the state. So it's in some ways a double burden on the people who live there. They don't have all of the high paying jobs that some of the other areas have. And then they, are subject to being, treated as somebody else's vacation land and then hosting, throngs of folks driving up on the weekends. And while most people are great, most of the tourists who visit the area are really, they want to be in the mountains because they love that. Sometimes though, the crowds and the competition for parking and all the other things that kind of come along with, unmanaged tourism in the Catskills can be a real strain on the communities. I think that's what you're seeing in Tannersville, and why there are these, plans being put together to somehow try to find that balance between the needs of serving up this great area to a whole nation, and particularly the urban areas in New York, but also keeping that, in mind that, people need to get to work in the morning, and, emergency vehicles need to get where they're going. And, when the crowds are blocking the roads and making it really impossible to get through, that it becomes a burden on the communities. And there needs to be a way to let those communities thrive in spite of all that, funnel some more money. I hope that, the new plans for the Catskills and the millions of dollars that they're planning on bringing are focused on making these communities, sustainable and, bringing jobs and trying to turn them into the trail towns. I remember the idea of trail towns that would connect sections of the long path was like a big thing that they were pushing, and somehow, like, Phoenicia and Palinville could be like these destinations along the way. That as you're hiking the long path through the Catskills, there'd be hostels and places where you could camp or charge your phone and get resupplies and all that kind of stuff. So I'd love for that to happen, because then the tourists don't become a burden; they become a welcome part of the community, and it's I guess a give and take. And you see, in places like Manassas in Virginia along the Appalachian Trail, how that's really worked out. I think
Yeah.
that was kind of the vision for the Catskills, create that kind of energy, the connecting the Catskills with the long path going through.
Yeah. And like you said, with the long path is like what they want to do with the Appalachian Trail is make this a connection of town to town to town to town, get the people outside of those city places area and get them funneled into these small towns and support those towns while they do their outdoor hiking adventures, and to appreciate these small towns and to be like, wow, these people depend on us really with the tourists, but we also got to respect their land.
Well, yeah, and it gives you an opportunity to slow down and walk through it at the pace of a pedestrian rather than driving through the town and not seeing more than the gas station or whatever else. When you're hiking or walking through and you stay there, it's a whole other experience.
Yeah,
I think that's part of the strategic plan of the trail conference is to work on making it more hiker accessible with more opportunities for access points and lodging and that all of the support services that go with the long distance trail. And that's kind of, we have people actually, we have long distance coordinators, a long distance coordinator now, Zach Cole, who's working on that for both the long path and the Highlands trails. So, look more to look forward to.
Definitely looking forward to everything with the long path. Such big improvements over the years, and I'm excited for that. So hopefully, I've had a couple people hear about the long path. I've tried to get Andy on here. He hasn't wanted to get on here. I don't know. I'm gonna have to reach out to him.
He's really busy.
That's the thing. That's what I've heard. He is an enormously busy guy.
So Stash, if you go and act as a swamper on one of his Sawyer crews and bring a microphone, I bet you could get a interview with Andy.
Yeah.
I've thought about that. I've thought about bringing a microphone. It's just keeping it steady and not going like that. Everybody's going to hear that. It's going to, but I've thought about that and having our conversations while we're out on the trail. Definitely a thought of mine. All right. So thanks for listening to the Catskill Mountain History. I really appreciate it, guys. Like I said, I've been reading that book, and right now I'm digging into, like I said, the railroad times of when they linked everything. The Otis Railroad was linked up to the Stony Clove, like Delaware Hudson, stuff like that. Catskill Rail Trail was being built. Well, this Catskill Railroad was being built, so that hooked up to the Stony Clove Railroad and Delaware Hudson. It's just amazing stuff to see how crazy it was here, and how not crazy, but how developed it became from being accessible by only horse and buggy to then all of a sudden these railroads coming in and bringing more and more people. It's amazing. So
yeah, and then the age of the automobile was not that far behind. It was like the 1920s and 1930s where the U.S. routes and the New York State routes began plying the way up into the Catskills. Route 28, I think, was built in somewhere around the 1950s or so.
Yeah, it's amazing. I can't wait to break into that stuff. So I'm going to go over some sponsors real quick. Anybody wants some new gears for the Catskills? Say no more. Camp Catskill in Tannersville has all your hiking needs, from spikes to snowshoes, moisture wicking shirts, memorabilia, t-shirts, hats, anything you need for hiking. They have it. Also, check out their online website, Camp Catskill. Also, if you're ready to hit the trails, make sure you take the scenic route. Our route guides are here to help you with their goals, big or small. Check out Scenic Route Guiding and Gear Rentals on Instagram and Facebook for more information. Also, if you mention the podcast, you can get 10% off. Use the code Mountain Lion. All right, so let's get on to our guest of the night.
Let's go.
Matt Smith and Charlie Gadow from the Catskill Trail Crew. Now, Catskill Trail Crew is an volunteer organization that helps out parts of the trails in the Catskills, and they have done some phenomenal work in the past 2 to 3 years. How long have you guys been around, Matt? It's been 2 years, right?
This is our second year. That's right.
Correct. Yeah, they have done some phenomenal work, and this is not just cutting down trees here and there and then cutting off branches or stuff like that. This is some really hardcore trail work, moving rocks, big rocks in the muddy areas, getting those rocks formed so you can step on those rocks perfectly and stuff. like Charlie said earlier, moving some rubble stone into the muddy areas, so you're not creating some horrible mud pits. They have done some stuff around here, and I'm really glad to have them on the show tonight. And I'm really glad that they're in the Catskills because they are doing some vast improvements. So welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us, Stash. Glad to
Yeah,
be here.
yeah. Charles, how about a little background about yourself, real quick, and then we'll follow with Matt.
Sure. I was a pathologist. I retired in 2021, moved up to the Hudson Valley in 2007. Also a trail runner. I started a bunch of trail races, two of them in the Catskills, Manitou's Revenge Ultra and 2013, and 2015, the Cat's Tail Marathon in the fall. So we missed 2020. So this is our 10th year for the Manitou's Revenge and our 9th year for Cat's Tail. And I became involved as a trail maintainer because I wanted to give back to the trails, and then began recruiting maintainers because trail runners are frequently the best trail maintainers. They care about the trails that they run on, and they're, pretty reliable in terms of getting out to get the work done. As people from the escarpment trail run, from Dick Vincent's escarpment trail run, which I think is going to its 46th year this year.
Wow.
At the end of July, a lot of those people who run that race also became trail maintainers. And then I got more involved with the trail conference and got on their board, and then became the Long Path trail chair, and then Matt and I decided we would do something about the condition of the trails, so we started the Catskills Trail Crew. I've been working more on mud holes and things like that, and Matt last year had the Blowdown Crew, and this year's got a roving trail crew, so he can tell you more about that.
Charles, let's hook up later for all your races for here. That would be awesome. Manitou's Revenge is crazy stuff. So we gotta get on here again, and we'll have you on here again if you're interested.
Okay, sure.
So Matt, how about you, sir?
Yeah. So I got into trail work actually when I was working as an assistant forest ranger. We did a couple of days of trail work every week. And I was lucky enough to be able to work with folks from the Adirondack Trail Crew and the Appalachian Mountain Crew. And they, really taught me a lot about how to do some of the basics in terms of grading trail, building stone steps and other structures. And after, doing that for a while, I actually worked as a forest technician for the Nature Conservancy, doing some trail work with them, forest remediation, invasive species control, burning in the Albany pine bush, that type of stuff. So that was a lot of fun. Took a break from that type of work for a number of years. But as Charlie said, trail running is one of the ways that you can get into doing trail work, because a lot of the races that I ran required you to do at least one day of trail service. So to get into the race, you had to, get somebody to sign off saying you did a day of volunteer trail work. So I started doing that in order to get into these various races. And I ran at least a couple of them every year. So I would get out and do a few days of trail work every year. And after doing that for a bunch of years, I ended up becoming a trail maintainer and, adopting a section of trail like a lot of folks do. And, going out a few times a year doing that. And I loved it so much that I decided to become a trail supervisor with the trail crew and work with a whole crew of volunteers to manage a section of trail. I manage the connecting trails that connect to the Long Path from Palinville to Phoenicia. Got a great crew of volunteers who spend a lot of hours every year maintaining their sections, cutting and clipping and clearing the water bars and doing all that kind of stuff. And, it's through that experience that I realized that sometimes being an individual trail maintainer is pretty tough. Like there's just a lot to do. Even if you only have a mile of trail, if like that trail that falls behind a little bit, or if it's, a lot of growth in one particular year, you can fall behind and it's tough to catch up. And sometimes you need a bigger crew to come in and help you out. Like if you can't get your buddies to come out, like that's where the trail crew can come in and help out those areas that are kind of growing in a little faster than the individual maintainers might be able to keep up with. Or maybe there's a lot of erosion on some of the steep sections, the water bars get clogged. And those, if you fall behind, you got to get in there with a pickaxe and a shovel and it's not the type of thing that an individual person can do it in just a couple days a year. So those are the types of things that I've been focusing in on, is really getting out, clipping out, cutting out, and cleaning out the sections of trail, and just supplementing that, the standard maintenance of the open corridors. The mud pits are Charlie's and Andy's passion. They are doing an amazing job, and I've worked with them last year doing some of those projects and slinging the big rock. We did some improvements out on the Huckleberry Trail,
Yeah.
or sorry, Huckleberry Point Trail last year, and it really helped a lot of those muddy areas. We could probably go back and do a couple more days there as well. I love that type of work, but this year definitely focus on like a roving trail crew. We got out last week on Saturday, and we had 8 people show up for a day of clipping out the southern half of the Huckleberry Loop Trail, which is out just to the west of Dry Brook Ridge. And it's an amazing section of trail, but it had not been maintained in years. It was tough to follow. The markings were kind of sparse, and it was so grown in that sometimes you just didn't know where the trail went. And interestingly enough, it took 8 people 5.5 hours to clear about 2 miles of trail. That section
Wow.
would have taken an individual person like a month, of weekends just going out there and trying to cut through that. There was just no way that that was going to happen. So that's the type of stuff we want to keep doing this year. So if people who listen to this podcast know about a section of trail that's just unloved and overgrown and just needs a little bit of TLC, let us know, and we'll get out there and clean it out and make it like it was brand new again. And sometimes those are the trails that are like the secret gems, because like they're not eroded, they have soft footing, there's actual dirt on the trails, not all rocky, because just people don't go there because it's so overgrown. But once you open it up, it's a beautiful soft trail. Like that section of the Huckleberry Brook Trail, it's my new favorite trail. I mean, it's winding through like different plantations of pine and spruce and tamarack. It's got old stone walls running through there, and old foundations. So it's really quite stunning and beautiful. And it's no steep climbs or scrambles, just kind of nice rambling, with great camping spots. That loop, the Huckleberry Loop, is about a 13 or 14 mile loop, which makes it kind of the perfect weekend camping trip,
Nice.
6, 7 miles a day. So hopefully, like once that thing is open and people learn about it, that'll become a popular destination, and maybe take some of the pressure off of some of the areas, like I don't know, the what are the other loop hikes in the Catskills? There's maybe only a couple other ones. The Burrows Trail, which
Yeah.
has its own appeal, and you can't really replace that. But people, I remember when I was a younger guy, I was looking for a backpack trip. To me, it was like the 15-mile loop trail is kind of the perfect weekend trip. And I think when that trail was first built, the Huckleberry Loop Trail, I think that was the idea, is kind of create that destination trail. For whatever reason, it just didn't take off. But I think now, maybe with the increased attention on doing things like the Catskills All Trails Challenge, which gets people hiking on all of the trails, definitely will get more attention out to that beautiful section of trail.
Yeah, I'd
Nice.
just like to add that the trail conference just adopted that. They always did the Dry Brook Ridge Trail, but they just added the rest of that loop, and we're looking for maintainers for that area.
Okay. Excellent. Definitely sign up for that. Definitely through the New York, New Jersey Trail Conference. That's awesome. That place is a gem. Definitely.
Yeah. Yeah, and I should probably add that the Catskill Trail Crew is actually part of the Trail Conference.
Yes.
So we are
Correct.
part of the Trail Conference, and we work with the volunteers and the administrators and volunteer coordinators to help with our work. So they've been in great support of everything we've done.
So let's get on with the Catskill Trail Crew. What made you guys want to come up with this? Charlie, how about you, sir?
Well, I think that there have always been some, areas of the Catskills hiking experience that, you're going through and you're like at the base of Indian Head and you see that it's a swamp and why can't this be better? And I think being in charge of overseeing the maintainers in all of these areas, I kind of got to thinking, where are the problem areas, and what can we do? And Matt, generously donated his time and experience and money to equipping us and helping us out to get us going, and leading projects and helping find other crew leaders. And I think it's a long-term vision.
Yeah, definitely. And it's been 2 years and you guys have done some crazy work. Matt, you want to add to that?
Yeah, I mainly wanted to make the Catskills Trail Crew because I get so lonely when doing trail maintenance by myself that I wanted to get other people out there to have fun with me and make it a more social experience. And no kidding, I mean, honestly, volunteers are pretty awesome people, and like people who are into community service. When you get out on the trail and you're working with them as a crew, it's so much fun. Like we had 8 people, we're trading off, working in different groups, and there's always just a good conversation, and the focus is on doing good things for the forest. And I don't know, it's to me a lot of fun, and having like an inclusive and sharing that type of experience with people in the woods is kind of for me what it's all about. And you also get some good work done too, and helping out the trails. And I think just spending a day in the woods is kind of a blessing in a ways. And if you can do it in a way that actually makes the trails better and creates a community spirit, I think that's just all bonus.
Correct. Like you said, getting out there, and Charlie added this as well, is just seeing the places that need improvement. Like I've always thought back when I first started hiking, is that the Indian Head part is really rough down there. It's swampy. It's all mud. It can turn into mud instantly if a little bit of tiny bit of rainfall. So you guys, one of the problem places was that the Mary Glenn's Trail and stuff around there. You guys are focusing on the parts that are getting beat up exclusively, and you can only do so much with so certain amount of people. You can't like some people think that you guys could do like 12 to 15 miles in one day. It's not possible. So more people, yeah, maybe, but you guys are doing some crazy, awesome work. So let's talk about where have you guys done so far?
Yeah, we're just getting started this year. So we've just had our first couple of projects, and there were the ones we were just talking about out on the Huckleberry Loop Trail. So the first day we joined up with a bunch of trail supervisors and worked on a little bit of the trail there, clearing blowdowns and brushing out that trail that hadn't been maintained in a number of years. And then we went back again this past weekend and spent even more time clearing out that trail. So my sense is we're probably going to be back out there a couple of more times this year. We've got a good schedule together, but any of the dates are kind of up in the air. We really want to focus on the areas where there's the most potential for impact. So if there's a high impact area that needs to be cleared, that's where we can divert our attention. If there's a storm and a lot of blowdowns, we can go there to help clear those and open it up. We recently got some pretty cool antique saws that were donated to us by one of the New York, New Jersey Trail Conference members. One of them is an antique 2-person crosscut saw, like where you have a person on either side of the saw. It's about 6 feet long. And
Wow.
We're getting that reconditioned, and the hope is to bring that out and to provide that kind of like traditional wilderness tool experience where you're using your body to cut through. Now, somebody with a chainsaw could probably do it faster, and in many cases the chainsaws come out and they get the work done. But there are some places where it's a little bit more difficult to get permits with the chainsaws, and where maybe just bringing out the old-fashioned manual saws for a couple of trees is a way to go. So in addition to that, we got these giant buck saws, which I don't know if you've ever seen them, but they're basically like a big long saw with like 2 handles on one side. So kind of like a regular saw with an extra handle on top. And so you can grab the saw with 2 hands and just really just get right into the sawing and put your whole body behind it. In fact, if you go online, you can see videos of people using buck saws in traditional lumberjack competitions to cut through large blowdowns or large logs. So we're hoping to give those a try this year to kind of create a fun and teamwork experience working on either side of the crosscut saw. So that, in addition to the clipping, I think will help us open up some sections of trail that need to be cleared.
Charlie, you said you previously worked on the Mary's Glen Trail, right?
Yeah, last year we had about 5 or 6 projects that we completed. As Matt was mentioning, he worked on the Huckleberry Point Trail. We worked on the long path south of Lane Street and also at Mary's Glen. And we also worked in the Black Clove Preserve doing some drainage. And so there, yeah, there was I don't know what else am I missing?
The Indian Head spot, right?
Yeah, the Indian Head spot. We actually spent a fair amount of time. We didn't quite finish there. We still have one huge mud hole to work on there. So I don't know if we're going back again later this year. And this year we went back already to Mary's Glen into the area south of Lane Street, and we may do our next project actually is in July. We're just going to be digging out the water bars on the Slide Mountain Trail, the really steep part that goes north of on the Slide Cornell Wittenberg Trail. The water bars haven't been dug out in decades. It's,
Oh, wow.
yeah, so the water just pours down the trail, and then there's all these piles of loose rocks. I mean, I'm sure you've hiked it. It's a mess, and you're have trouble with your footing. So we're just going to try and go out there for 2 or 3 days, hopefully maybe more if necessary, and try and improve the hiking experience. We'll be assisted by the Trail Conference's Conservation Corps. They have a group of Catskill trail stewards who'll be with us for a couple days, and they usually help us to get a lot of work done in a short period of time. So, and that's actually part of Matt's roving trail crew will be part of that. So, and then the last project is going to be maybe at the end of August, going for the area between Trails End Road and Verneuil Hill Falls has some very wet areas, although I was there, like I said, I was actually there yesterday and it was so dry I couldn't even figure out where the work has to be done. So hopefully I'll have to go back there and see what it looks like when it's wet again. But it's sometimes like a lake on that trail or a running stream. So hopefully we'll be able to figure that out.
Yeah. So Charlie, being involved with the rougher stuff like that, Matt explained some of the stuff they have to do with the saws, but with this like moving of the rocks and then the broken rocks that make the trail, how do you guys do that? What is involved with the planning and
We're not that sophisticated like the more advanced trail crews like the Jolly Rovers or the Trail Conference's long distance trail crew. They'll have grip hoists and they'll be flying rocks around, and that's that equipment is very expensive and requires a lot of skill to operate. And most of our trail crew leaders don't feel comfortable with that. So we do things like we use a rope puller, which is similar to a come along. So you can actually pull fairly large rocks into place, and then we just maneuver them. And we have a lot of tools to dig out the areas. And one interesting thing that I learned in doing this is that Catskill rock is like, bluestone. It's very fragile. You hit it with a 4-pound sledgehammer and it breaks into like 20 fragments. So that's kind of a unique feature of the Catskills that's pretty makes it easier to help, fill in those muddy areas where you're digging out the mud. So yeah, I've learned a lot. I didn't come to this with a lot of trail knowledge, and I still have to find crew leaders. But there are people in the area who've been, building trails and repairing trails for decades. So it's been a fun experience for me.
yeah, that definitely involves a lot of planning though as well.
Yeah.
As to where to put the rocks, where to put the crushed rock and stuff like that. Where is it going to flood the most? I saw on the Mary's Glen Trail and the Huckleberry Point Trail the work you guys done, and you could easily tell that you guys have been there, and it's been fantastic.
Yeah, I'm happy that everybody's who's participated has found this to be fulfilling, enjoyable work, and everyone seems to have a great time, even though it's hard work. And when they leave a project at the end, they're like they feel fulfilled. I think it's really a good experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, you really can see the effort when you're done with the work, from blowdowns to clipping to building rock structures, no matter what it is, like you see the physical change that you've made on the trail and you can walk away feeling proud about that.
Yeah, exactly. And you guys, like, I mean, I don't even do this with you, but I plan to sign up in the future. But
Wait
walking,
a minute, I have the sign up page open right now, Stash. What date do you want to sign up for? I can put your name on the list right now.
I gotta check it out. Let me see. Let me see. I
All
mean,
right.
I do want to sign up with you guys because I have my own trail. I have the Camel's Hump to Thomas Cole Trail. I mean, that's not
Right.
as diff.
Yeah.
It's crazy to get to, and then that one part in the section of the lower part of Camel's Hump to Thomas Cole is a pain in the ass. Um, but I have great joy in doing it. I love doing it and doing this sort of stuff where you're doing a whole different maintenance where you're getting nitty and gritty, you're getting muddy and stuff like that. But you're also with a bunch of awesome people that do it. I just want to do that. I gotta get some open dates available. The only dates I have available are Sundays and Tuesdays, unfortunately.
Well, Sundays, we might have some trips that we can move around for your benefit, Stash. So we'll keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do work Sundays, so there's always that possibility.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, yeah. So the planning on this, like how do you guys like focus on do you notice like the big hardcore areas that need it first, or is it kind of like what we can do with the group we have first? Like what involves the planning with this?
Sure. Well, I think to some extent, I mean, working as a trail supervisor, I'm getting reports from all the volunteers in my area. I'm walking all the trails in that area. So I'm seeing firsthand and hearing about where the problems are all the time. And what we do is we report these up to the DEC and we let them know where the problem areas are. We let them know what we might want to do about them. And then in some cases, that fits into their plans and, they give us permission to work on various projects. That's for any kind of the construction work. When it comes to the clipping and the blowdown work, that's really just word of mouth and getting out on the trails. So it's like, where there's problems areas, people have identified them, they're communicating them to the trail conference, they're posting them up on the Catskills trail conditions. And so we look at those areas and we kind of pick those as the spots where we're going to focus our efforts.
Yeah, actually, there's actually application process. So, for these bigger projects, I have to write everything up and provide the location and what tools I'm using, how many crew I need, and and then provide maps and 3 photos for any drainage. It's kind of complicated. And there was a few projects, like I mentioned, the Mary's Glen Trail. Not all of that what I wanted to do was approved. I wanted to work on Geiger Point, which on the Devil's Path, which I think you both know about, is one of the
Oh,
bumpiest, muddiest areas in
Yeah.
the
worst mud
Catskills.
pit in the Catskills. Yep. It's
Yeah,
awful.
but that was not approved, so I'm still working on that. But that's a big one.
Do you know why that wasn't approved, Charlie? Was there a particular
Um,
reason?
yeah, the forester wants to look at it again.
Okay, so it's not necessarily disapproved, just maybe in a
Right.
holding
On
pattern
holding,
for
yeah.
now.
Like everything else, right?
Well, she has some legitimate concerns, and also the Tahawas trail crew is going around the Catskills addressing a lot of the same things that we're concerned about. Like last year, Matt and I suggested that there was a problem at Orchard Point at the very top. You always had that steep rock that you had to climb to get up there.
Mhm.
And there was a workaround that people were using, and we suggested that we would like to work on that. And then the next thing we knew, Tahawas had come in and built a path up to the top. So that was kind of a good feeling that the DEC actually listened to something that they were probably thinking of it too, to be honest. But that if we somehow could influence the decision-making process that was of what would be addressed in terms of the professional trail crews, we thought that was pretty cool too.
And that's like you said, it's not easy work most of the time. It's not like you just go there and done. You're done. You everything gets approved. It has to be approved. You can't just go in there and do your own work and be like, hey, look at what we did. And they're like, well, that's not the way it should have been done. So
The maintenance that's actually in the treadway, that's part of our visitor service agreement for the trail conference. Yes, that just about always gets approved. It's not a big issue. Like the work we're going to do, digging out water bars and moving loose stones off the trail. That's nothing big. That's not a big deal for the DEC. So we got that approved pretty easily.
sweet.
Right. I got 15 work days approved with nothing but an email to 2 foresters because I'm not doing any construction. So that's one of the reasons why I chose to do a roving trail crew this year and focus on that, is because I work in the pharmaceutical industry and I am besieged by regulations on every side all day long. And when I do volunteer work, it is the last thing I want to do is paperwork and bureaucracy and any of that. So I, think Charlie's doing a great job writing up his his projects and getting approvals for them. It is a lot. I mean, that takes a ton of time to do all that planning, to go out to take the photo. So it isn't just having a good idea. You have to basically run it like a project manager at like the highest level. I mean, you have to, everything short of a budget is you have to show exactly how it's going to be done, what the outcomes are going to be, because ultimately some forester is signing their career onto like a volunteer's idea, right? Because like they're ultimately responsible for that forest. Like we think of it as our own because we're the taxpayers and we're getting out and doing the work, but somebody's job is to maintain that forest, and those foresters are great, and they do need sometimes to work for their bosses and justify what they're doing. And sometimes they need that extra proof and that extra paperwork to make it happen. But ultimately, we've got great support from the DEC for what we're trying to do, and look forward to, working with them more and passing on the good ideas to Taos and those other trail crews who might be out there as well. Because if the work gets done and the forest community benefits from it, well, then that's the best outcome that anybody can ask for.
Exactly. Chain reaction. You guys might have like you said, Charlie, you had an idea over there and it got done. So it's a chain reaction that could make our trails better. And that's what we want here. We don't want just one crew to do it, one little thing every year. We have a bunch of crews to do it. Like what you guys are doing, it benefits in every way. That's awesome. Phenomenal. I love it. You know me, I love the volunteer organization. So question, how can we sign up? We got online pages, correct?
Absolutely. If you go to Sign Up Genius and look for Catskills Trail Crew, we've got the next 13 dates that we've got planned for this year posted there. You can sign up. We've got people signed up for next Friday. We've got 4 people signed up already. We're going up on Plateau. We're going to clean water bars. We're going to clean brush. We're going to just make that trail as good as it can possibly be.
Nice.
We also advertise, what we do on the. We have a Catskills Trail Crew Facebook page. We advertise on Catskills Trail Conditions, and the New York, New Jersey Trail Conference has volunteer sign-up opportunities all the time, so it's listed there. And then we have a list of some 90 people who've joined our email list. So whenever I'm doing anything, I email them. And Matt has the same list, so he's contacting people. So we get the word out.
Good. And that's what I'm trying to do on here. I'm trying to get the word out of you guys and get you guys some more help. And hopefully I'll be able to help this sometime this year as well.
We mentioned patches. We have patches. We give out patches for doing work, which if you like patches, you can come and get them from the Catskill Trail Crew. They're beautiful. They're black and red and gold, and they look pretty sweet. And you only got to show up twice to get a patch. So the first time you show up, you get a sticker, you throw it on your car. Everybody knows you're part of the Catskill Trail Crew. Come back second time, you get your patch. And then after that, you probably get a t-shirt or a bandana or a hat or the other stuff that we have in our little bag of goodies. So definitely worth your time to come out and, show your community spirit, be part of the crew.
Yeah, people really seem to like the stickers. I have to say that.
I love your logo. The logo is fantastic. And once again, I'm going to make this like a little thing. It's like patches. Anybody loves patches like that. That's just, and once again, 2 days out of your freaking 365 days you have in a year, is nothing, is absolutely nothing. So it doesn't matter with the Catskill Trail Cruise or the New York, New Jersey Trail Conference, just volunteer and sign up. But I suggest you sign up for the Catskill Trail Cruise because it sounds like this is an amazing experience and a fun experience and a hands-on experience. That
And apparently
is,
it's pretty addictive because people keep coming back again and again. We're
that's what
really
we
getting a
want.
lot of return visitors who are just committed and they see the benefit of their work and they're getting the good feedback. So if you come out once, you may not be able to stop. So just give it a try.
Rock on. I love it. So one last thing I ask everybody this, Matt, I know you've given me one before, but Charlie, how about if you ever had like a crazy time in the Catskills where, you know, I wouldn't say you didn't think you would make it, but you've had some crazy experience that like on the verge of being like, man, this could be deadly or, something might happen.
Yeah, I go to the Catskills to not have those kinds of experiences. I just enjoy the views, and I know I saw that you had mentioned you would be asking me this before, but I have to say that the craziest time that I've had is hiking down the west side of Sugarloaf in winter when it's just a sheet of ice and kind of hanging on to whatever I could to just keep from flying off the trail and breaking some part of my anatomy. Yeah, I've kind of gotten to the point where don't enjoy that going down the west side of Sugarloaf in winter. I'm not sure I'm going to do that again because in recent years we've had a lot more ice than snow. I mean, as you know,
Yeah.
it's just even with good traction devices, it's still pretty scary.
Yeah. And that west side of Sugarloaf and the east side of Plateau is no joke. Scariest place. I had that on one of my episodes as probably the most difficult and challenging hikes in the Catskills are that, of course, Devil's Path, but the west side is no joke of Sugarloaf. Winter, like you said, Charlie, I try to avoid that stuff because I don't want to be another person on the news and I don't want to have that problem of perhaps dying in the winter because of hypothermia and stuff like that. Matt, how about you, sir?
Well, another one of the difficult things that can happen in the winter is getting caught in a spruce trap. And that happened to me one time. I was up climbing Southwest Hunter. This is back in the 1990s. And I was doing a night hike in the winter to Southwest Hunter, Trellis Peak. I was trying to be as extreme as I could get. And I got what I was asking for because I got up there and this was before there was any kind of a herd path on Southwest Hunter. So I'm kind of making my way through the spruces and suddenly I just fell down. Like I dropped like 4 or 5 feet down into this well of a spruce tree. And like, I'm like, neck deep in the snow. And I'm like, at first I was kind of a little bit amused, like, oh, isn't this funny? And I hadn't really heard about spruce traps. I wasn't experienced with them. So I really didn't know what to do. And I, tried to get back up on top of the snow, but it kept collapsing. And like it took me, I don't know, half an hour, 40 minutes of just thrashing around and eventually trying to like make a ramp essentially to kind of climb out of the hole that I had fallen into. But the snow was so unstable, it just, took me that long to consolidate it and make some kind of a passable way. But the whole time I was like thrashing through spruce branches, getting all caught. My snowshoes were getting tangled and my poles were all caught up. And it was like if, that amusement quickly turned to like a sense of panic where, like, am I going to be stuck in here? Is my headlamp going to run out? Am I going to like freeze to death in this hole in the middle of the woods in the night? And I don't know if you saw it, but there was a video recently of some guy who found a snowboarder who had flipped upside down in a
Oh
tree
yeah.
well. And like just thinking about that guy who was laying there, like, what he can't do anything. He's upside down in a tree well, like with his legs attached to a snowboard, so there's nothing he can do. It was like terrifying, like that kind of thing. And that, so lucky that that guy found him. I didn't have a chance of anybody finding me, so I eventually made a way out myself. But yeah, that
Wow.
was a good lesson about just not traveling solo in the winter at night in the middle of the, forest where nobody knows where you are. So pretty interesting stuff.
Crazy. Absolutely crazy. So yeah, so we're winding down on the the show. So one last thing, post hike brews and bites. Where do you suggest to go to eat after you have been hiking or doing some volunteer trail work in the Catskills? Charlie, how about you, sir?
Oh, Westkill Brewery for sure.
Definitely. Everybody loves that spot. And now they have food, which is even better. Like before, 5-10 years ago, they didn't have food. They had like a food truck, maybe if you got lucky. And they had like pretzels. I mean, that's not good enough. But yes. How about you, Matt?
I'm old school. I want to get a Stewart's milkshake after I go hiking. Just give me a big chocolate milkshake from Stewart's and I'm totally happy.
Nice. Phenomenal. Well, guys, thank you for joining the show. I also want to thank everyone who has donated. Really appreciate it. Thank my sponsors of the show. Thank my monthly supporters. Matt, I thank you very much for supporting the show. Thank you for believing in me. I'm very thankful for you guys. I appreciate it. And Charlie, Matt, thank you for joining me on the show. I really appreciate it. And I look forward to working in the future with you guys.
Cool.
Great. Look forward to seeing you out there.
Thanks, Dash. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, everybody sign up for Catskill Trail Crew, New Jersey, New York Trail Conference, whatever. Volunteer for the freaking Catskills. Get your ass out there. Help out these trails. So, guys, have a great night, and hopefully I'll see you soon.
Sounds good. Thanks, Dash.
All right.
Great show. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey guys, I just want to thank you for listening to the show. If you enjoyed the show, subscribe and throw down a smooth review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or any podcast platform that you use. You can also check daily updates of the podcast, hikes, hiking memes, and local news on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and the official website of the show. Remember this, you just keep on living, man. Livin.
Wicked.